So today we're going to talk about 3 levels of awareness, 3 levels of awakening that we all go through. So there are basically 3 primary stages that depict mankind's evolution. 3. And there's all kinds of ways I could break that down or explain it. But one state of man's evolution, I'm not talking about just people. I'm talking about when you're getting on the path, what are you going to listen to as your teaching or teacher? Well, one great system that got developed, the Vedas in the Far East and the Mosaic Law in the West. They were people or rules telling us how we could live to improve ourselves. Remember those concepts? The rules, the laws, the Vedas, and the Mosaic Law. Great. In case you guys want to know how to live a better life, these are available to you. Then comes somebody, let's say like Buddha in the East, Jesus in the West, again using the East-West a little bit. And they're saying, no, wait. It's not just the old laws that you live by that help you be a better person, which they do. How about this? Can you go one step further? Can you become? Can you look at our example first? Because you're not going to totally become yet. You don't believe all that yet. But you go from the teachings and the law, one more, to now looking at individuals who've gotten it right. You heard about the laws? Now let's look at Buddha and Jesus and go, wow. Oh my God, religions around them and beliefs around them. And they're great examples. These guys are saying, I'm an example of living the law. Jesus says, when you see me, I'm the law fulfilled. Okay? That's the next step. So you and I can read about laws and follow laws. And some of them are very fear-based because they're really for an old system of people that weren't quite ready to accept the next level yet. That's okay. The next level comes where I'm not really about the old rules and laws, man. And Buddha says, God, the old rules and laws, even of the system he was brought up in, those old rules and laws still said things like that the caste system, if you're born into one level of family, you're bound by that. That's it. That's called fate. And Buddha's saying, how could there be fate? Then there's no consciousness. Then my choices, free will, has no ability to change anything. So he says no. So that was one of the reasons he did what he did in terms of choosing to find enlightenment. There must be another way. So he does it and says, look at this. We can become the change we were trying to follow as rules and laws. Jesus comes forth and says, I am fulfilling the law. So there's another example of that. And it's fantastic. But there's a third level that we're all being called to. And it's not follow just the rules and laws. That means of physics and health, as well as spirit and science and all these other kinds of things. But also the next level, which is follow Buddha, follow Jesus. They're giving you a great depiction of what it's like. The third stage is to become. Now, how do I do that? Well, listen to teachers that encourage it instead of just quoting things all the time. Go and listen to teachers' books, teachings, videos, whatever they are, that talk about your direct connection with God. You, not Jesus, Buddha, you are a holy child of God. Start acting like it, though. We can't just go, man, I'm so holy, I just won't do anything about it now. You say, I really admire the way this person depicted that presence. But now how do I do it? That's the next step. That's the age we're in. From the Piscean age, that's still old school to us today. I have to become the light bearer, the light worker, the light of God. If God says, I am light, and I've created you in my image, then you and I are light. We are the light of God's eyes. Okay? God says, you are the light of like a wonderful parent that loves its child so much. Oh, you're the light of my heart, my soul, my life. And that's what we are. God totally loves us and created us in its image, as I said. So God is light. Therefore, so am I. But I have to act like it. I have to not just try to follow vague rules and laws of once upon a time to keep me somewhat in line. I mean, we hopefully have some of that down. Try not to murder. Try not to covet too much. Hopefully we got some of that down. It's a few thousand years we've been hearing about that. So how about getting it down? Vedic laws included. But then we moved on to the Buddha and Jesus. Are we only going to walk around talking about Buddha and Jesus, what great beings they were? Because neither of them would want us to do that. They wouldn't mind us doing it for a period, but eventually they say, now, honey, fly. No, I don't need to, because I like watching you, mom, dad, bird, flying. I'm just going to sit here in the nest. You know, you're going to die. You will die spiritually and literally for a bird if it attempted to do that. You must exercise your wings. Come out wherever you are. And so that's why people don't understand. Unfortunately, those who are still in the old rules and laws are still thinking, Jesus is coming back and it's not going to go well. You know, that's this preaching they have. What about Jesus who? Jesus Christ. What if Christ is back and the second coming is my accepting of that? It's strange to say Jesus the Christ is coming back. That's called redundant. Why would he come back? Listen, I'm just going to do it again. Why would Christ do anything twice? That's called addiction. Christ is not coming back as a person going, listen, in case you missed it last time. No. The Christ that was born in Jesus has to be born in us. And that's the finale. That's the final stage of human evolution and human enlightenment. Now, if that's true, and I guarantee you that it is, if that's true, then what are you and I doing about it every day? This world is going to try to tell you no to that. It's going to try to distract you because the world's created by our ego, and our ego doesn't want us to remember that we're the Christ. That's the whole point. The whole battle between good and the veil, evil or the veil. We're wanting to hide behind a veil because we're so afraid that we are divine beings. Why would we be afraid of that? Because we played along with something to the contrary for so long, we feel guilty about it. So if I come back and go, hey, I'm a divine being, the ego is going to say, really? After what you've done? I've got records of everything. I got video. The Akashic records, you know. And the ego will always keep you coming back another lifetime and another lifetime, acting as though it's having you come back lifetime after lifetime to evolve. But Buddha said, oh, no. That's called the wheel of illusion, that you're evolving. As soon as you think you were wronged or bad enough to have to come back, you've already stated an imperfect affirmation. I guess I did something naughty in my last life, so I'm going to have to go back. You've already sent yourself to hell, called earth. Because you're coming back to pay your price, and that's jail. So some other voice is saying, one day you will choose to look and say, no matter what I believe I've done, I'm only going to ask for God's opinion of who I am. As I've described this many times, when you're dragged into the courtroom of the ego and this world, be sure to just plead insanity. That's your sure way out. Don't justify what you've done. Don't defend what you've done. Just accept, may or may not have, whatever it was. I don't, like Ronald Reagan, I don't remember. You know, just hit him with that one. Just plead insanity. And your hands are washed. Because when I say I plead insanity, what I'm partly saying is, I don't know. Let's ask God. When God hits the witness stand, you're good, man. I promise. If we can call on God, that's why every day, not just in the proverbial courtroom of the mind, every day, when you have thoughts of judgment, thoughts of regret, thoughts of this and that in our life, things done to us, things we've done to others, just remember, but this isn't the way God would have me think this. And then ask, God, how would you have me? Oh, I've done some really naughty things. Okay, but God, how would you have me see this? And it would not be bad, naughty judgment, hell, karma, etc. It'll be, forgive you not, you knew not what you were doing. It's just going to be back to innocence. God really, as a metaphor, only treats us as though we were children who learned to walk and stumbled and then got up and did it. You know, a good parent doesn't wrong a child when it's learning to walk and it trips a couple times. I mean, that would be really a sick parent. How, I can't believe you fell. I'll just not even talk to you again. It doesn't make any sense. But we assume that's how God is. God would never talk to me. Why can't I hear God's voice? Well, yeah, I get it, because God would never talk to me, after what I've done. It doesn't matter what you think you've done. If you did anything at all, it's because you knew not who you were. So treat yourself accordingly. I forgot how to walk. How can you, guys, come on. A baby, it forgot how to walk. You did forget. You used to run. You had other lifetimes when you knew how to walk. And yet you're doing it again as a child. So don't judge yourself. On some level, you know how to walk, and on some level, you know how to be divine. We just forgot. And you should not punish people who forgot. It doesn't make any sense. The opposite of forgetting is forgiving. So I'm going to forgive myself. Some people can watch a program like this and go, God, I was giving into this whole, that's fine. Forgive yourself for giving into virus fear. Forgive yourself for judging other people that gave into theirs. It's all okay. It's like, just find another alternative. Find another reason to sing. I know how insane it seems because the world keeps going, yeah, but that's not being practical. Fine, so go to Unity today and do some prayers, but on the way home, buy some ammo. Just in case. I know that there's that other voice. I get that. All I know is, in this moment, there's something needed. What can I do to help? And so, if it's somebody's afraid, how to comfort, how to bring light to dark places. I mean, you cannot protect yourself enough in this world to satiate your soul or your mind. It won't happen. You can build fortresses. It will not happen. Like in the great movie Excalibur, and they say, so Merlin, everything seems kind of cool. We've worked hard to create a nice, light place, this beautiful Camelot. Is there any evil left in the world? And one of the points he makes is it's always where you least expect it. And then you start going, oh, so one of you got by. He meant here. He meant you, where you least expect it. Because all the things of this world are reflections of our insides. There is no outer world. It's a hologram. And people keep talking about it as though it's a thing. There's nothing you can do that can't be done. Nothing you can sing that can't be sung. There's nowhere you can be that isn't where you're meant to be. Right? All you need is love song. There's nothing you can do that can't be done. And there's nothing you can see that isn't coming from your inside, either individually or collectively. There's no thing, there's only consciousness. I'm going to have to do a talk just on that. There's no thing, it's only consciousness. And people, they say it. You can stand in a circle and somebody's, it's only consciousness. And people are like, oh, isn't that beautiful? And everybody wants to sing it, but not really get it. It is really only consciousness being reflected. But there's this thing. There's no thing. Anybody here, some of you may have heard of Ogopogo. We have found the enemy and the enemy is us, is a line from that. It's true. The enemy you're seeking, the enemy you're trying to defend from, the enemy you're finding, they're just reflections of ourselves. The God self or not so. If it's not so, what do I want to do with that? Punish myself. Where's that coming from? The God self or not? So I want to get all of my thoughts and beliefs to start aligning with God. That's all I'm really trying to do. And I see how it deviates. And when it deviates, I'm meant to bounce back, because deviating would also not be the voice of God. Voice of God back, it's just recalibrating. And you and I will never be given greater tests than we're willing or capable of handling. It's true. That's, you may have heard that in different wording, but it's true. Mother Teresa said, I know that God never gives us more than we can handle, but I just wish he didn't trust me so much. And that's a brilliant way of saying it too. Like, geez, I do believe we don't get given, we're not given tests that are greater than us and our abilities to handle them. But wow, there's moments where we're thinking, there's no way I or anybody could handle such a test like this. And besides, when it becomes a global thing, how can little old me, how can I fix that? Still, that's not the voice of God. If I'm part of everyone and I shift me and my consciousness, I have shifted the whole system of thinking in mankind. So I'm going to do my part. And my part is to watch the lessons every day, the waves of fear, the waves of enlightenment and moments of, brilliance. Then great, celebrate that. Don't light your candle and hide it away. So, what am I doing? All of us have a light in us. We're all like projectors. And there's this light bulb that is myself. There's the screen, which is life. But the light, the inside the projector that gives it the ability to do anything is God. And so if I have light, and we all have a light within us, whether it's wrapped in darkness so we don't see it, or whether it's bits shining through or fully awakened, we all have light within us, the light of God. And I've said this many times, but what are you doing with the light? Because the light can illuminate and bring clarity, and it can bring warmth, or it can burn. So my inspirations inside are part of that light. So when I get this excitement, this inspiration, do I use it to say, hey guys, we're still divine. Let's go for it. Or do I use that light to say, hey, I'm going to use my light to shine on everyone and tell you all, I'm going to burn you instead of warming you. I'm going to let my light go overboard and preach instead of be. There's different ways we can do this, like we can do anything. Bringing love. I can pervert and twist what love is, or I can do my best to actually hold divine presence and then, bring it in a way that seems the most appropriate. A hug, a handshake, or whatever it happens to be. When Elton John thought it was potentially hazardous, AIDS, he still went and lived with this family that had the misfortune of coming down with AIDS, to the kid's death. He lived there and took care of the family. So think about that. I mean, he technically put himself in what the world would have called harm's way. And he did the right thing by saying, I don't care. That's my take. I'm not telling you to put yourself in harm's way. I'm talking about being able to say, I will not let this thing win in anything, whatever it is, even if it's my ex is talking bad about me and beat me in the divorce. It doesn't determine who you are. But the fact that it happened was already predetermined by what you do believe you are. Is there such a thing as fate? Not in the traditional sense, but worse, it's in the belief sense. You're fated to experience reflections of everything you believe about yourself. And that doesn't always go well because we don't always think very well about ourselves. So I totally get that. I totally get why a person like that said, I'm going in, I'm going to do this. Remember, I've shared this at least once before, that during the Dark Ages and the Black Plague, people didn't know what to do. And it was spreading like wildfire, man. It was like a huge portion of that part of the world died. Like half, or some people say a third, some people say 2/3. But do you know that the Renaissance came partly because everybody was dead? Did you know that the reason the Renaissance came, there was suddenly much more money and prosperity because there were less people with the money. More money was available to less people. Death helped bring about this thing called a Renaissance. Pardon? Rebirth. Yes, and it is part of a rebirth. So it's tragic that happened. But who is it that helped turn around the Black Plague? A guy named Nostradamus. Nostradamus was not just a prognosticator. He wasn't just a prophet or a psychic or a channel, a seer. He was a doctor. And he knew the cure. He told people, start burning up these old things that carry this, which is symbolic, old stuff. But he also said, and rose petals. Hence the nursery rhyme, ring around the rosy. You all fall dead. That was about the plague and roses. So he was telling people, I don't know, word trivia comes sometimes in my head, but roses, because they're the highest frequency of a flower. Castor oil, highest frequency of a plant. Roses, highest frequency of a flower. Yeah, castor oil, its Latin name is Palma Christi, which means the palm of Christ. Powerful stuff, that castor oil. But roses. So here's Nostradamus saying, roses, people. It has a frequency. It has a purification essence, an energy to it. So he was actually walking in room after room, never thought, okay, listen, I want to help, but from outside, He walked in and he just knew that he was okay. And guess what? He was okay. Not just because he never died from that. He was okay because he was okay, period. And if he would have caught it and died from it, he would have still been okay. He would have died okay. You follow? You don't let the outside determine whether you're okay. Just because people survive such thing is not just the miracle. The miracle is in the mindset even of those who have walked into these situations and survived and passed away or became susceptible. Your mindset is what determines your righteousness. Righteousness means right consciousness. So the world is being tested, minor compared to still what comes. But as I'm starting to come to a close, think about this. We're looking for another renaissance. That's going to happen. A greater renaissance than the world has ever seen. But the Black Plague preceded the Renaissance. So why? Because every time you want to get to the light at the end of a tunnel, you have to first go through the dark tunnel. So when I want and I'm ready to change my life and start saying no to certain things and stepping up, I'm going to have to deal with the things I'm saying no to. Some of them are going to whine about it. Some of them are going to cry and pull at me and, don't give up that job, because this world says you got great benefits. This world says, if you just hang in there at that job, you can retire with great benefits in just 43 years. Just 43 more years. This world, it's bogus. You can just stay in that relationship. I mean, your mom did. Yeah, but I never saw her smile. Nobody thinks these things through. Why not happiness now? If God created me bliss, I am bliss. It's not just a feeling. I'm the state of bliss. God created in me in its blissful image. I don't feel very blissful. Something must be wrong. So what's going to happen is I'm going to say, okay, bliss becomes like a metaphor, light at the end of a tunnel. I'm heading back for bliss. Your ego says, man, I am going to put you through a gauntlet of hell called the dark night of the soul. And we're going to have the dark night of the planet before we reach the ultimate Eden again. And we are going to reach Eden again. But it isn't going to come from fixing the world we think we have, because you can't fix this one with the same mind that created it. So we will not be able to just fix like a little adjustment. If only this politician, if only this economic system, that's not going to do it. You could be Nikola Tesla and say, I can give free energy to all houses, and they just assassinate you. Trying to fix it by this world standards will not happen. Come up with the cure for certain illnesses, and they're going to kill you if you try to promote it. Or they'll make it illegal for you to talk about it. So they'll put you in jail for having a cure because someone wants to make money on it. What's going to change this? Me talking about? No. Consciousness. Ultimately, it's our consciousness. One thing we have to do is stop trying to just micro-adjust the messed up world. Own this world as it is, created, tainted by our ego, is not the one that becomes Eden. There's another one. We all must understand. Stop trying to fix the relationship that came from hell. Stop trying to, fix the negatives. People that don't like you, stop trying to make them like you. Nothing wrong with sending them love, and if they like you, great. No attachment to it. Stop trying to make things different and instead change this. This is called willing, choosing. Humans wish for all kinds of things. The if-onlys of life. And that's weak, very weak and ego-based. True spiritual beings, they don't bother. We don't wish, we choose. We will it. I'm going there. I am going to change my life this year. Inside first. Not first as in, I'll do this for 10 years before I get around to the outside. I mean, my first priority is I'm going to work on my inner self. At the same time, I'm going to make some adjustments on the outside. But how do I know which adjustments to make? It's actually quite simple. The thing I said I wanted to change in here was what? What are you looking for? Peace and happiness, great. Now all of your outside decisions, all you have to do is say which ones resonate with peace and happiness. See, you don't have two decisions. You don't have, I got to fix the inside, then I got to figure out what to do on the outside. There's not that much figuring other than the fact that you're resisting peace and happiness. And then there's a part of us that goes, don't you dare think about the relationship. Just hang in there. It might work out in another 23 years. No, you learn to say, wait, what would I say to a child if something was off? If my child fell and its spine was out of alignment, honey, let's get your spine aligned. What's that mean? I don't know what that means. Mom's scared. You can be scared, but we're going to get your spine aligned because it's right to do. Alignment. Let's get our finances sorted out. People, rather not look at bills and they hide them in a drawer. That's not how you get them paid. It's never, ever happened in the history of mankind that people stuffed bills fearfully in a drawer and somehow they manifested cash into them and get into a mailbox, went off somewhere, and someone, at the electric company went, oh, cash, that's great, and just said, we'll never charge them again. It's never happened in the history of man, and yet we're still trying it. Stop trying insane things. It doesn't work. So instead, what are you looking for? Let's use, for example, peace and happiness. Then all I have to do is start getting my outer decisions, my way of life, to match peace and happiness. I don't want to fail at my relationship. Well, I hear you, sweetheart, but it's not resonating with peace and happiness, is it? No. Have you tried to get it to resonate? No. Then try. What if you have tried? Well, then, if it's not capable of surviving the transition, and this is important, into peace and happiness, then the relationship is done. Now, it's not done if you want to stay miserable, because misery, it's its keynote. But if you're talking, I want a new keynote for my life, peace and happiness, you are the conductor saying, hey, everybody, we're going to play in this key. We're going to play this song. The conductor's in charge. When you want to change your life, you step up and you become the conductor. And if somebody's out of tune, you say, stop. No. And that's the same as our life. Not in a hard, judgmental way. Just, you're out of tune. And if you're out of tune over there, cello or whatever it happens to be, if you're out of tune, can you please tune? And then we'll start again. Try it once, twice, three. Do you not know how to tune your cello? No, I don't. Then I'll have you leave the room and come back when you do. That's like saying no to a relationship or a job or a child or a parent or whatever it is. Don't judge or hate those that are out of tune, because you've been out of tune too. And you're the conductor and you let them be out of tune. How did that work out? Why would you let that happen for so long? Now all the students don't even know how to tune anymore because they're used to you allowing that. When you show up differently, the world will start reflecting it differently, especially if that's what you will to happen. Don't hate, like I said. Don't judge. But just see, this is not congruent. Peace and happiness. Stop watching shows, news, reality shows, garbage, just pure garbage, and letting it affect you. If you decide, no, you know what I'm going to do as part of my spiritual lessons today, I'm going to put on the news just to practice holding center. If that's what you do, great. But if you go in there letting it pull you off, then it's like an addiction that you've put yourself in harm's way. You said, I'm no more drinking, but I hang out bars every day. It doesn't make sense. But if you told me, I have a discipline that I do. I'm in recovery, no drinking. Sometimes I'm going to go specifically and sit to see how I'm handling and look at what's coming up inside. If you tell me you can succeed at that, then I support it. If you tell me that you keep trying it, you keep failing, I don't support it because you're putting yourself in harm's way. So again, whether it's your children, your parents, anybody, and there's a problem, you can say, all right, let's try again. Mom, I only want to talk, as long as we can do well on the phone, and then something goes off. Mom, remember, I said I'm only going to, as long as it goes well, so I'm going to hang up, Mom. Click. Bring. Hello. Click. Bring. Some people, no, you can't. That's your mother. No, you're disturbed when you think that. Your soul comes first. Mom, love you. And in fact, try not to call back because I'm going to need to do some work on you. No, don't say that. But you can say, I'm going to unplug my phone for a bit. You can do that because my peace and happiness comes first. I'm not saying you're the antithesis. I'm saying, Mom, my peace and happiness comes first. So if I need to take a break, I'm going to take a break. But I will tell you this. I will only stay on the phone while we get along. That's beautiful. Kids, I don't care. I don't care. Kids too. Guys, respect. Respect. Be careful. Respect. I'm not talking about 5-year-olds, abandoning your 5-year-old. I'm saying respect. Teach them how you want to be treated. But that saying has to go further. You are already teaching them what you believe you need to be treated as. How you believe you should be treated. It's a frequency. It's not just your instruction to them, to the world. It's your frequency. There's something in us that already has or does not have self-worth. And if it doesn't have it, people pick it up and they become predatorial. If they sense it in you and they're those type of people, they don't like you. Because as far as they're concerned, you represent starvation to their ego. I want to push buttons and you don't have any. I'm just not going to talk to you anymore. It's okay. They want to get to you. And yet you're like, no, immunity is what I'm all about. And it's the same with viruses themselves. Immunity, love. Loving yourself and others builds an immunity, a clarity, a master. Be so strong to be like Mother Teresa going amongst leopards. Be like Moses marching in and saying, guys, here's what's happening. I mean, to walk in and say, Pharaoh, we're leaving. Do you understand? That makes no sense at all. That's, how do you walk as an African American, walk into a courtroom in the Old South and say, post-Civil War, pre-Civil War, and say, I decided I'm going to be free today. They didn't go, oh, okay. Can we give you some cash to hold you over for a while? That's not how that worked. When you say to the ego old ways, I'm making changes, it flares up. It's the Christians call the devil coming at them. I don't care what name you use. It's just still the truth. You're going to go through the dark night of your soul on your way to your reaching the light at the end of the tunnel, and the planet is going to do that too. This is just a precursor. This is just an example of more to come. The good news is this can help us build some sense of stability spiritually, center. But how are you doing is what I'm partly asking. How are you doing with all this? One of the greatest things the world can bring us as a lesson is called integration. And it does so through the dark night of the soul. Because when you go through darkness, that's all your deepest doubts and fears. That's where you will find your real stuff. If you don't have any real stuff, you'll just collapse and it'll come around again and again just to keep beating you up. When you demonstrate, I can walk into the Pharaoh and say, we're leaving. The Pharaoh isn't happy about that. That's his workforce. Those are slaves, loves owning slaves, and thinks, now who's going to do the work? This is bad politically. This is bad economically, whether it's the South, whether it's Egypt. It's all the same. It's not good. This ego world doesn't like free people. And you can say slavery is no longer allowed. They're still enslaved because they're still out there running in fear of now a virus rather than a slave owner. Everybody's still afraid of being caught and punished. The Israelites is real light. I am real light, man, and I'm out of this relationship. No hatred, lessons learned. But I'm out of here. And this job or whatever it happens to be. But it's also these voices in my head. Stop listening to them. Stop listening to the Pharaoh tell you to live in fear. Say to it, free my people. Who's talking? I am. God of Moses? No, I am. God, period. And that I am is up on the mountain. In me. It's up here. Moses used to go and visit God walking up the mountain. Takes him many years to get there, many days and so on to get there, but up the mountain and he communes with God. But that's the Mosaic time. Christ then says, I am that upper self. Excellent. So now we're done, right? No. You have to go up the mountain too. Oh, that's work. Yes, it might seem like it. But when you learn to go up the mountain, it's not going to feel like work at all. You're going to be like, I'm going to choose to only live up the mountain. So first we heard about the laws from the guy up on the mountain. Then we started hearing about the guy who made it up the mountain and became that consciousness. And now third, we're asked to step up there and become that ourselves. To do anything else is only procrastination, because we're going to get it, but it's procrastination. And so all we're asked to do is practice this. And this recent thing going on in the world, it's just another. It could have been a global, like a earth change, a weather shift, or it could have been any topic. And people are being tested. I don't call it right or wrong. To me, it's just always a test. And I either come out knowing this or forgetting who I am. So, and we have to bring that example to other people. Don't preach it, but how to be that presence. Pray to hold presence. Pray to be that master who has the courage to walk in during the Black Plague. Pray to be that Christ self, because that's what those are ultimately the muscles that you're toning. Pray to be that one in the hospital with a certain illness that seems to have a little more something about you other than fear. But you're sick too. Yeah, I know. See, but why would I want to just be sick like everybody else, hopelessly? If I'm going to be sick, I'm going to try to do it differently. Try to be a different example. Try to say, even with AIDS, Elton John goes into this person's house when they think it's contagious like that. How can I be different? Show women that they're not just women. Show every race that they're not just, there's no more of that old way. Don't believe in it. Everybody is God and capable of knowing and doing and feeling all good things. But we're needing to practice that. Do you want to be the one, if you ask yourself when we're done now, do you want to be the one who still just hears about it as laws? Or are you ready to now connect with those who have manifested it? Oh man, I'm really getting into Christ, Jesus or Buddha or whatever. Could be your deceased grandmother who really held that presence, that you can still use her as a model if you want, but still the higher demonstrated. So are you just wanting to hear about it? Man, we got to get past that sometime soon. Second stage has been around for a couple thousand years. Haven't we got that yet? Let's get that one now. Let's close the door on worshiping those who modeled it and move into integrating it. But be careful what you ask for. Because if you say, I'm ready. I used to hear about the light at the end of the tunnel. Then I met it. It was really wonderful to look at it over there as Jesus during a baptism in the water or whatever. Then I heard the calling. I'm supposed to walk in, become that light. The bad news is the tunnel on the way there. And that's all we're experiencing is another phase of the tunnel. So decide who you are and what you want to do with that test. Okay? Thank you. Let's take a few centering breaths. Just take a journey through time. Let's imagine being lifted up, weightless. With every exhale for the next couple of breaths, everything of this world is sort of just falling away and decompressing. We become lighter and lighter. And we're lifted up and we transport back in time. Whether you go to the Far East or to the Western world, the time of the Vedas, the time of the Mosaic Law, whichever attracts you, go back to this time and just observe. What is it like for people to live by rules and laws, even though they're spiritual rules and laws? and lifestyle rules and laws. Just observe people living by those laws. What's it like? How does it affect social systems, households? Notice that some probably succeed and some not so much. Some choose to practice and some choose not. Some choose to practice and fail and get brokenhearted over it. But just witness, what is it like? Is it enough just to be given rules to kind of guide our lifestyle when you're looking at this? Does it feel like it's enough to really transform everything? Or is it more like a guideline for now? And in what way does that apply in your own personal life? In what way do you still live by laws? Physics, finances, health laws, rules, opinions? Are you always successful at it? Or were they guidelines that people needed for a time? Can you really step into living so well that you're guided by your heart instead of the external rules? You may or may not be ready for that. Breathe and be lifted up again. Weightlessness. Just feel very light and buoyant. Floating back in time also to a more recent time, but still we're back in time to the time of Buddha or Jesus or any great master along those lines, and sit, watch their presence, their effect on people. Notice that even if they can affect people, the people still have to choose to be affected. So you're watching great, enlightened, powerful teachers' teachings. But notice people are still external to it, watching, hearing, maybe being transformed, but they're external, watching. It's amazing. Jesus healing every ailment. Buddha transforming hearts and souls with love and compassion. But how does this apply in your own life? For example, are you still sitting and only listening partially changed? In what way do you still read the book and not apply it, become it? Or listen to my talks or someone else's talks and not apply it? Or even know some things in your own mind, your own channeling, but not apply it? Where are you still living like that? A couple of breaths and become buoyant again. Just like visiting the ghost of Christmas past and present and future, it's very similar. We get to decide what we want to do with this vision. So we bring ourselves to this moment, current time, and we ask ourselves the third initiation of all. In the context of today's talk, the third initiation. How do I become what the laws talked about and what these teachers modeled? How do I become? And just try this on for a moment. I'm becoming, and see if there's any doubts, fears, hesitations, in any way, shape, or form. Just be honest if it's there. It's okay, because you're still not going to let it determine your future. But if there are any, see them now so you can choose to surrender them. If the third step is my accepting and becoming, are there any quiet hesitations or loud ones? Are there any inhibitions? Is there any undeserving? Is there any doubts at all? What might stand in the way? I am that I am. Remembering that I am all that God created me to be. If I have any other opinions, because there is no other than God, any other opinions, will I still let gender have an opinion, race have an opinion, height, body type, having family, no family, being married, not married, having children, no children? Do I let any of these opinions, labels affect me to this day? If so, what would I like to do about that? As was wisely stated once, if not us, then who? And if not now, then when? We have the right to say 3 more lifetimes. We have the right to say 100 years. But it's going to happen. And while we're still imagining, we close that with, even if we had hesitations, we close with a sense of gratitude that we know the only right choice for us now is to become the presence of God, even in this world. Not through our perfect, constantly perfect actions. It's in perfect attempts to forgive ourselves through all actions, through all opinions. Forgive. I'm going to slip, but I'm also committed to forgiving. And we give thanks, beloved Father, Mother God, that nothing will change our ultimate destiny, destination, function. We are the light of the world, and while we are in this world, we will shine our light. And so it is.